Hey there everybody, welcome back to the channel. In today's video, we are going to be doing the screen replacement for this Galaxy A13 5G. As you can see here, screen is very badly damaged. Back is still okay, but the screen overall does not work in the condition that it's in. So in today's video, we are going to be replacing the screen on this phone, and we're going to show you how to do that step by step. So what we're going to do first, we are going to go ahead and start off by removing our SIM card slot. Easily just get one of these keys here, pop the tray out, and make sure that you don't lose any of those components there. We're just going to set that off to the side. And next, what we're going to be doing is around the entire edge of the phone, we're going to pry on it. This back cover, to remove it, is just simply held down by a bunch of plastic clips. So we're just going to be prying them bit by bit and removing the entire back to get access into the inside of the phone. Can be kind of tricky at times, but a little bit of persistence. As soon as you get in there, just go all the way around the edge and start removing it. You can see that separation right here. That's what separates the back of the phone with the actual screen of the phone itself. All right, so now that we have our back completely off of the phone, before removing the actual back, what we're gonna do is we're gonna carefully set it down and we're gonna open it, holding it at this 90-degree angle right there to remove this cover right here. And that holds in place this flex cable that acts as our power button. So we're gonna remove this cover first, so that way we can gain access, and then disconnect this flex cable right here. All right, to simply remove it, we're just gonna get a corner of this here. That pops out. We're gonna get our tweezers. And then with the same plastic pry tool, we're just gonna disengage that flex cable there, and now we could set our back cover aside. All right, so now that we have our back cover taken off, what we're going to be doing next is we're going to be going around the entire phone in the back right here. This top section and this bottom section, we're going to be removing every single screw that we have here. All right, so the next step after we remove our back, we're going to get our Phillips head and we're going to remove all the screws from both this top section of the phone and this bottom section as well. All right, after we remove all of our screws, what we're gonna be doing next is we're gonna be removing this top cover first, and then afterwards we're gonna move on to the bottom cover. You're gonna get a pry tool, and same thing, since this is just held down by plastic clips, it should come off fairly simple. You can remove it, set that aside. And now we have access to the motherboard and the rest of the connectors up top. What you're gonna start by doing here is you're going to disconnect the battery connector first, which is the most important. So with the plastic pry tool as well, spudger, just go ahead and get that, disconnect the battery. And then next what you can do is you go in here, you could use a spudger or a fingernail, disconnect the screen. Next, we're going to be removing our bottom cover, so same thing. That's pried up on. That comes off when we could set that aside. And down here, the only connector that we have to disconnect is for the screen as well. So that comes up. And then our next step is going to be to remove the motherboard on the top as well as the charging port down below. So before removing your motherboard, you do have to remove this screw right here. That screw is to hold down the actual motherboard up top. The charging port has another screw down here as well. So before removing them, what you're gonna do is you're going to remove these screws, and don't mix these screws up with the screws that hold down your covers on the back. These are a different size, so don't dislocate those. And next, after you've unscrewed the motherboard, you can simply get a hold of it, pry it up a bit. Be very careful with these antennas off to the side. If anything, what you could also do to make it a lot easier on yourself, you can disconnect these two antennas right here just by prying up on them very carefully. You can set your motherboard aside, and then you can move on to your charging port. So now that we have our motherboard and our charging port removed, the next step is going to be to remove our battery and any other small components that have to be transferred over to our new screen. All right, so to remove your battery, what you're gonna wanna do is you can use a little bit of isopropyl alcohol, put alcohol along the edges, and then with something relatively hard, you can use, for instance, a playing card, anything that's not metal. As long as you can get underneath the battery to remove the actual adhesive that is below, that way you can remove it. What I'm gonna be using is a transparent playing card, you could say. This is plastic. It is preferred, like I mentioned, that you use something non-conductive. That way, in the case if you were to accidentally pierce your battery, it doesn't catch fire. So we're just gonna apply a little bit of alcohol down below, and we're gonna let that run down, and then simply with the edge of our card, we're gonna go around, and as you can see, it's already kind of helped a bit, loosen it up. Gonna go completely below the battery and cutting the adhesive that holds it down. Once the battery is loose enough, you can remove it with your hand. So we're just gonna cut the rest of that excess. All right, And there we go. Battery's been removed. All right, and as we can see here, we have both our old screen and our new screen. Next step that we're gonna do, we're gonna transfer all these small components from our old screen over to our new screen. So we're gonna be transferring over the ear speaker, the vibrator sensor, the loudspeaker, the volume buttons. The new screen already comes installed with, so we're gonna leave those there and just transfer the rest over to our new screen. All right, now that we've removed all our components from our old screen, the next step is going to be to reassemble our new screen with all the components that we removed. So, starting down below here with our loudspeaker, we're going to place that here. Following that, we are going to put back our vibrator sensor. And lastly, we'll move on to our ear speaker. Up next, we will be putting back both our charging port and our motherboard as well on the phone. As you can see here, the old charging port is kind of dirty, so what we're gonna do to make this bit of a better repair, we're going to go ahead, you can get a brush and just lightly scrape off whatever debris you have on there. You can also use isopropyl alcohol, not too much, but you could also use that as well to help you out.
So if we get it basically earlier than that, if we get it before that, let's say before 2 or 4 p.m., we'll let you know. Para mí, as soon as we get it early, we'll let you know. No, put this kind of phone. This kind of phone no más. If you want an iPhone, don't.
All right, so with our antenna here off to the side, you'll see that there is a small channel where the antennas go. Just be sure to reposition those so that way they sit nice and flush inside, and then we can reconnect them to our motherboard.
Okay, no, thank you. I mean, that's what I put it. You put it in for me. They give you permission. Sorry about that.
All right, after placing back our motherboard and our charging port, we're going to place back these screws that hold them down. Then we're going to follow up by reconnecting this bottom flex cable right here. Make sure that it does click into place and that you're not forcing it in. The next step after this would be to place our battery back into the phone. But what we're going to do before that, we're going to cut out some double-sided tape strips so that way the battery can sit nice and secure inside of our phone. So here we have our double-sided tape. We're going to be cutting out 3 even length strips of double-sided tape. That should be enough adhesive to hold our battery in place. When doing this, be very careful that you don't cut any cables. So we're just going to snip that part of the adhesive off and then move on to the rest. All right, so now that we have our adhesive cut out and set into place, we're going to get our battery and then place it inside. Before placing it, you want to make sure that there's no debris inside of the area where the battery sits, just to avoid from anything puncturing it, causing any kind of pressure that's going to be unwanted. And then after you've made sure that it is clear, you grab a pair of tweezers and reveal the other side of your adhesive tape. You just want to put a little bit of pressure on it just to make sure that it does stick to the battery. And afterwards, what you want to do is we're going to reconnect this cable right here. After you've secured this cable into place and you've made sure that it does go in properly, what we're going to do next is we're going to be reattaching both our bottom and our top covers to the phone. Before we do that though, we are going to be reconnecting the battery. We're not going to be powering on the phone just yet. We will do that afterwards once everything has been closed. If you live in Arizona and have a repair you'd like done, please feel free to visit us at any of our 4 locations and we'll be more than happy to service you. If you do not live in Arizona, but you do live in the United States, we do also have an option to where you can ship in your device and we will return the device back to you once it is fixed. Down in the description, we do have the address to where you can send that device. And then once you do send the device in, please contact us with the tracking information so we can keep a close eye out on your package and then that way we can send it back to you. All right, so now that we have both our top and bottom covers screwed back in, the last step is just going to be to reconnect our power button, and that way we can turn the phone on. We're gonna align that flex up with the connector, make sure that it does connect. We will be placing back the cover that we took off previously as well, and that should pop right into place. The back, we can just put a little bit of pressure here on the sides to engage those clips that hold the back cover in place. All right, once we've attached our back cover, the final step is to place back the SIM tray and whatever cards were inside. If you don't find yourself in Arizona, but you do live in the US, we encourage you also, down in the description below, we will have more information to where you can ship your phone in, send us the phone, we repair it, and then send it back to you fixed. If you have any other questions, please feel free to leave us a comment down below. Like the video, share, that would help us greatly. If you know people that are interested in this kind of repair, please send them our way. We'll be more than happy to service you guys.